Welcome to the Expired Podcast by Macy Bookout and Natalie Gard, a Chattanooga, Tennessee-based crime cast. You can get early access to our episodes every Monday on YouTube.
Okay, so we were talking about something, and I said, you need to wait.
Okay. So, this is the Lula Lake murders, and the Lula Lake Land Trust was formed in 1994, and it only was put into a land trust after the efforts of Robert Davenport, a member of the second generation of the family that founded Krystal Company, the fast food chain.
Yeah, the mini burgers, right?
Yep.
Okay, so hold on, we're going to call Taylor.
Okay.
Hey, so we're recording the podcast right now. The case we're doing is the Lula Lake murders, and Natalie pointed something out that I was unaware of. Okay, do you remember last weekend in Albertville at that Airbnb and the neighbor, you know, that like talked a lot? Do you remember the family that he was talking about?
Which one?
The Krystal family?
Oh, yeah.
The Davenports?
Uh-huh.
Okay, what else did he say about them? Was it like the person who owned that house or something?
No. He just,
How was there a connection?
to him?
Yeah, like why was he even talking about that?
Because
Ben.
he used to, I don't know if he lived in Chattanooga for a little bit or came down here for work all the time, but his boss, I can't remember what kind of company it was, but his boss just kind of always took him to do different things, so he kind of knew some of these big, like, business people or whatever.
And I think didn't the Davenports own the company he worked for?
No, I think they own another company.
Just the Krystal?
I can't remember because that was the second conversation I had with him.
He talked a lot.
I'll
Hey.
be honest, it was one of those I wouldn't listen half the time because I was trying to figure out how to get away from it.
Okay, listen to what Natalie just told me.
So the murder happened in 1963, but the Lula Lake Land Trust was formed in 94 to make the area like privatized. And
Like a nature reserve?
Right. And it only happened because Robert Davenport made it happen. And he was part of the second generation of the founders of Krystal.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I've literally heard about this family twice in 1 week.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Super weird.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what he said. It was almost like he was just kind of like humbly bragging,
That he knew them or had some connections to them.
dropping big name families
Yeah.
from the Chattanooga area.
He was talking about the people that owned was it like a sugar company or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, when you said Davenport, the Krystal family, I was like, what? This is strange. Yeah, twice in 1 week. That's so weird. Okay, thanks, babe.
Alright, no problem.
Okay, bye.
That's weird.
Isn't it?
Super weird. So, Lula Lake is on Lookout Mountain. Lookout Mountain is both in Tennessee and Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is actually our first case out of the state of Tennessee.
Yeah. I mean, technically, I feel like it's still Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because, honestly, for even the people that live on the Lookout Mountain, Georgia side,
Mm-hmm.
like, Chattanooga is still, like, their
Yeah.
city.
Yeah.
So,
It's
and
so
again,
very
like,
local.
Chattanooga is very much on the line,
Mm-hmm.
the Tennessee-Georgia lines. Very
Mhm.
southern, southeast Tennessee, so.
Yeah. So, originally, Lula Lake was just this lover's lane.
Mm-hmm.
In the 50s and 60s, like, that was the big thing to do, was go to different creeks, different hiking spots, like
Blue
secluded
holes.
areas.
Yeah.
And, like, make out. Like, that was the thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Was that the thing to do when you were young? Because I feel like it was for my age, too.
yeah, probably, like, being in a car with someone is super
Yeah.
intimate, I feel.
Yeah, apparently.
It can be really intimate, but it's like when you're a teenager, it's like, we're finally alone. Like,
Yes. And it's
I feel
kind of the only place to be alone.
The only place.
To get away from your parents.
Mhm.
Why did it take you 45 minutes to drive 10 minutes?
Well,
Couldn't tell you.
I couldn't tell you.
Traffic was bad
Yeah.
at 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Originally, the land was purchased, and it was only 1,000 acres. Now today is 8,000 acres.
Wow.
And
So it's just grown.
yeah, through the Davenport family efforts, it used to be a dumping ground for like garbage, burned out like stolen cars, Popular's Lover's Lane, and scenic natural site available to the public day or night.
Yeah.
It was
Really pretty
really-
waterfall. And like where people go fishing and stuff.
Mhm.
Lots of fishermen would go there.
Mm-hmm.
There,
But-
we still have a few places like that too that are like still public, but
It's also National Free Fishing Week in Tennessee, so for adults it's only this Saturday, so it's already passed. But for your kids, it's all week long, so you can take
that's
your
nice.
kids. I'm dying, still
Oh my
dying.
gosh.
Okay,
Y'all, the allergies here.
I don't know what's wrong with Chattanooga. It's just been the weirdest spring summer.
Yes,
Oh.
it's so weird.
Yeah, it is weird. So in 1994, after this murder happened, that is when they put it into a trust, and it was the Lula Lake Land Trust, all by the second generation of the founders of Krystal.
Yeah. So Krystal, the fast food chain, was founded here.
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola. It was actually founded in Texas, but the first bottling company
Was here.
was here. Little Debbie was founded here.
Moon pies.
Coca-Cola and Little Debbie both still have very large up and running plants.
Mm-hmm.
Mars,
Yep, M&M Mars.
yeah.
And
Trains,
now we have,
railroad,
we have
like
Volkswagen here.
Amazon.
Yeah.
But like for a
Chattanooga's
long time,
that was our two big things.
yeah.
3 big things.
Krystal, Coca-Cola, Little Debbie,
Mm-hmm.
Mars included.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Lula Lake was kind of on a downward spiral at this time, and it wasn't being watched like it would be if it was pronounced a national park. So it was just very open to the public.
Now,
It's not.
no.
You have to schedule weekends in advance. It's only open at certain times.
Like first and last weekend of the month,
yeah.
and they only allow 85 vehicles
Yep.
in, and you have to pay like $15
To
per
park.
vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but it's so booked that there's actually a wait list.
Mm-hmm. And then you don't know if it's gonna rain or what you're gonna be doing if you want to plan it a month or two in advance.
Right. You have no clue. So it's very,
Well kept now.
yeah, and sought after.
Mm-hmm.
You've been there.
I have. Yeah, it's really nice.
I've never been there.
It's very nice.
We should try and go.
Yeah, we
Because
should.
there's also stories of ghost and
Mhm.
spirit activity where
Mm-hmm.
the victims were.
Yeah.
Um,
So let's talk about the victims.
okay.
Now, keep in mind, this is 1964. A young couple, Orville, he went by Orville Pete Steele. He's 19 years old. He has a girlfriend named Carolyn Newell. She's 16. And they go on a date after probably family dinner because it was Easter.
Was this 64 or 63?
Did I say 64?
I think you did.
It's 63.
But I think because it's April 14th, so it's easy to say the four.
Dyslexic for sure.
Yeah, so it's Easter Sunday.
Mhm.
I'm sure they go to church because, Southerners.
What we do.
Yeah. Go to church, probably eat lunch with the family afterwards, do your little Easter egg hunt,
Mm-hmm.
and then they go off to hang out at Lula Lake together.
Mm-hmm.
They were both from Rossville, Georgia.
I grew up in
And-
Rossville, Georgia.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's so weird doing local stuff.
I know.
They were, described by people to be very popular, very well known,
Mhm.
very well liked. In general, just good kids.
Mhm.
Considering they were very young, and I know back then it was normal to like get married
Mhm.
young, but probably very mature. Because again, back then,
Everyone was getting married at this time, like,
right, and having kids,
Mhm.
like that's just what you did.
and they were engaged.
Yes, they were engaged to be married. Both families were very,
Very
happy
excited.
about this.
They were planning a wedding for later that year, probably after, one of them graduated or something,
Yeah, probably.
So Orville and Carolyn, Sunday dinner's done, let's go up to Lula Lake, let's spend some time. When they didn't come back at midnight, their parents are worried and they called the police.
Yeah, this was not something that they would normally do.
Mhm.
And because they were engaged to be married, there was really no reason for them to like sneak away or like not come home.
That's what the police said. We're like, are you sure they didn't just go elope?
Yeah, they probably just went to get married, and they're like, no, they were engaged.
We're
all
all happy.
supporting this. Like they wouldn't even feel like that's necessary.
Yeah.
And they were actively planning
Mhm.
their wedding.
Mhm.
So I agree with the parents. That doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't. So they start this search. They probably started on Monday the 15th. By April 20th, 6 days after they were reported missing, their bodies were found. They searched Lula Lake and they found the bodies. Now, Orville Pete Steele, his body was tied to a tree and he died from strangulation with the use of twine and a wooden stick tightened around his neck. Isn't that a garrote?
Yeah, that's what you said. I was impressed that you knew that word. I've never heard of that.
So, John Benet Ramsey's case, she was found with a paintbrush with a string,
Mm-hmm.
and using the string, like if you just use the string, this is so bad, I know this, just using the string can give like rope burns and leave DNA on the string, but if you use a paintbrush, a wooden stick, whatever.
It is a garrote. Garrote.
Yeah, garrote.
Verb, to kill someone by strangulation, typically with an iron collar or a length of wire or cord. A noun, a wire, cord, or apparatus used to strangle someone.
Garrote.
Good job.
Thank you. So he was found with this around his neck. He was tied to a tree. Died of strangulation with this twine and wooden stick. About 100 to 150 feet away from Pete's body was Carolyn. She had her wrists bound together with that same twine. She had been raped several times, struck in the head, and then choked to death. It was a very grisly scene because she was naked from the waist down, and wild animals had eaten part of her leg.
Yeah. Oh.
What the fuck?
In such a short amount of time, too. It's not like they've been missing for
Yeah.
a long time. So, that's so not cool. Unfortunately, obviously with this being in the 60s, they didn't have like DNA. I don't even think crime scenes were protected and, marked off.
Probably not photographed because literally I'm only going to post 2 photos on this video and on our social media because that's the only 2 photos I could find of them.
Yeah, the only real photos you can find that involve this case at all are like just of the area.
Yeah.
There's not like,
I have their yearbook pictures.
yeah, there's nothing of like the crime scene, nothing of exact location. I mean, back then, I feel like how do people solve crimes?
I don't know. Where do you get your suspects? Like, how do you... And the work had to have been 10 times harder. Like, phone book. Like, now we can just look up anything we want.
Yes,
With
just
the
like
box
I
in our
just did
hand.
with garage.
Yeah. I don't know how they figured anything out.
No. And I don't even know that they knew enough about DNA or like blood evidence or anything like that to even swab for samples. Like, would they even know to do that?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Maybe
I don't
not.
think that came until like
Later.
late 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
So this is like just super bizarre considering they were popular, they were very well liked, very well known. Their families were respected families. They were in a place that a lot of people went to. And there was no robbery.
She still had her ring on her finger.
Right, like the jewelry was still there. I know that even though she was found without clothes, like I have not read or seen anything that suggests that there was proof of sexual assault.
No, just that I read that there was. That could have been the animals too.
Right, but the fact that they were both strangled and nothing was taken, like, it, to me, it's not someone that knows them.
No.
And number two, theft was not the motive.
No, I think if it's the person police think it was, I think it was for sexual gratification. Or he was spying, stalking, whatever, and got caught and didn't want anyone to find out about it, and he snapped.
Mm-hmm.
And wanted to get away as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's very likely.
Because his car was found. Orville's car was found. It had a flat tire and a can of oil near it. So when police initially got there, they were like, oh, he had car trouble. And then they start searching, and then they find them.
I know the flat tire and the oil can from a service station was laying close by to the vehicle, but I don't foresee if you get a flat tire, like, unless something crazy happened, like, I don't know, this was decades ago, but, like, I don't know that the oil can had anything to do with the car, but wasn't there speculation that, like, the suspect might have done something to the car?
Mm-hmm. Tampered with the car so they couldn't get away quickly?
Yeah, or tampered with the car to make it look like they had broken down and decided they were just going to stay the night or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Something fishy about that, because why would you have an oil can next to your flat tire? Like,
right. Those two things don't.
Those are different problems.
For sure.
Yeah.
And if they happened at the same time, that would be a huge coincidence, and I don't really believe in coincidences.
And this is a dumping ground. Like, that can of oil could have come from anywhere. There's rocks, glass everywhere. They could have punctured their tire and not even known it and went off to hike or picnic or whatever. So their immediate suspicion came on this man who lived in Rossville. He was 27 years old. His name is James Blevins. He is a husband and wife of 3. He was initially questioned because he liked to drive on Lookout Mountain, and he liked to engage in like, spy on couples engaged in sex. Like, that was his thing. He would drive on Lookout, look for couples.
Yeah, like a peeping Tom, but more.
Yeah.
Not just on people, but like on specific activities. So I'm reading through this right now. It actually does say that her wrists were bound, her clothing from the waist down was missing, and that subsequent examinations revealed that she had been sexually assaulted multiple times and hit on the head with an unidentified blunt object.
I guess they did do,
And then Orville's body was found, I didn't know this, miles away?
This says somewhere between 100 and 150 feet.
This one says a few miles away.
Those are two different sources.
Yeah. That's crazy. Wait, do yours say that he was tied to a tree? Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I said that. Tied to a tree. That's a weird one.
So the same twine that was used on their hands, or like to bound them, was also the exact same that was used to strangle them, and both on her and on him were a match.
Yep.
Like, were the same. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so they're looking at this father of 3, James Blevins.
He's kind of young.
Yeah.
27.
Mm-hmm. He was questioned and admitted that he had talked to the couple, but denied any involvement in their murders.
Yeah, he said he was up there at Lula Lake on a fishing trip after an Easter meal with his family.
Mm-hmm. He was dressed in all camo. But that is not uncommon.
No, it's not at all.
At least in this area, like everyone's in camo all the time.
Yeah, especially in hunting season.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he was fishing, I feel like a lot of people...
They go hand in hand.
Yeah, they do. And there are specific types of camo that you wear when you're fishing because of the way the water reflects off of it. So it's like really not unusual for a fisherman to be wearing camo as well. Plus, I mean, hunting and fishing clothes and gear are not cheap at all. So I don't foresee someone, if it's your outdoor clothes, like your outdoor sports clothes, like you're just going to wear what you have. You know, you're not going to buy multiple sets unless you just have endless money.
Yeah, 3 kids.
Yeah, I don't think it's weird that he was in all camo.
Yeah, so they charge him 2 counts, and you brought this up about their dads.
Yeah, so their dads, the victims' dads, Carolyn and Orville, their fathers were the ones who signed the arrest warrant for the charge for the murder for Carolyn. Her dad signed the warrant. And the one for Orville, his dad signed the warrant for the charge for his murder.
Typically,
the dad
judges
signed the warrants.
I wonder how that works.
I really want to I feel like you could look into this but get so many answers. I would love to know someone that was like a detective or an attorney or something even close to that time to see if that's something normal.
Yeah, because it's not normal now.
Heck no.
A judge has to do that.
Right. I mean, that's wild.
Yeah. I asked my parents about this because they were in this area. They were children. My dad was a teenager. My dad didn't remember what my mom did. She didn't remember specifics or anything, but she remembered hearing about it because she grew up in Rossville.
Dang.
Yeah, so she would have been like 10 at the time.
I'm trying to think of attorneys I know who might come from
Family.
a line of, law enforcement and or attorneys.
Yeah.
Because I really want to know
I
if
know.
that was a usual occurrence.
Yeah.
And to me, it's not super shocking given the location. This is a very rural part of this region.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like, were there people in place that could sign a warrant, make for the arrest to happen because it would take too long for a judge or someone that actually has the credentials to do so?
Mm-hmm.
Were there people appointed that were maybe able to do that?
Or was it this is the 60s, does family have more say in what happens?
Yeah, than the judicial system. Yeah, that's wild.
That is crazy.
We gotta figure that out.
Yeah, we do.
If y'all know, please tell us.
Yeah, or ask your parents, grandparents,
Yeah.
great-grandparents. I want to know that. So the state of Georgia have charged him with 2 counts. He had to be put in a jail in Rome, Georgia, because the amount of threats against him at the Walker County Jail was just too much. So he had to be moved to a different county, which is not far from here, but...
It also says that the prosecution suggested that Blevins was discovered by the couple in a bid to prevent this secret from reaching his family. He murdered them.
I could see that.
And the secret is the fact that he got aroused by watching.
That's
people.
called a voyeur.
Yeah.
So there's so many great terms.
Right?
This shit.
I know.
Yeah, a voyeur is someone who gets sexual gratification of watching people naked or watching people have sex, and he admitted to that.
It says that throughout the stages of his arrest, detention, and trial, Blevins had held steadfastly to his claim of innocence, and that his story remained consistent throughout. A polygraph test did not provide conclusive results, which is interesting, considering his story did stay the same.
Yeah.
So the other part of this that I think is interesting is that there really was not any solid evidence against him, except for the rumored fact, but also what he admittedly said were his enjoyments, we'll say. But besides that, and him being there,
Yeah.
but besides that, there was literally no other evidence, nobody that saw this happen, nobody that even knew him that would be like, yeah, he'd do something like, there was zero.
He was more like just a creeper, like a stalker.
Right.
I don't think he had any, like, serious charges to his name. Like, those were the only connections. So, James Blevin gets himself a great Georgia attorney, Colonel Frank Gleason of...
What a
Rossville.
name.
Colonel.
Okay, so in May of 1964, so just over a year later, Blevins was convicted for the double homicide, but this judgment was later overturned, and he was actually sentenced to the electric chair.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was overturned due to insufficient evidence. I read somewhere too that it was overturned based on the fact that either he wasn't read his rights properly when he was arrested, which I think was like, you have a right to an attorney and you don't have to speak right now. So that leads me back to the warrants were signed by the fathers. Like, was it police that arrested him? Because the fact that he was convicted of double homicide with like no evidence, like he would have died. He would be dead by now had proper arresting practices gone on.
But I don't know the proper practices of that day. I did hear that the reason he got acquitted of it is just there's no evidence, but I don't know how they solved any crimes back in the day.
Well, I think they had a little evidence, like say the twine that they were tied up with and strangled with. Maybe they found some in his vehicle or on his person or at his home, maybe there were footprints. Maybe there was a witness. So I think that's the only real way they convicted someone or proved someone's guilt. But there was none of that. There was zero evidence, really. So
Yeah.
I think the way that the attorney got them to even look into a new trial or overturning the verdict was because of the bad arrest practices and like not reading
And nothing-
the Miranda rights
Yeah.
that were Miranda rights at the time, whatever they were. No other suspects were ever brought to trial. They are still unsolved. The current location of the suspect, James Melvin Blevins, is unknown.
After he got let go, he hauled ass out of here.
Yeah, I
No
wonder
one
if he
has
found
seen-
his family.
I did find a Reddit thread, and some family members have like chimed in. They didn't have a ton of insight about what happened, but they do remember hearing about this, and the urban legend of the teenage lovers preyed upon by someone unknown is like all, like, everyone is talking about that in this feed.
Yeah.
But the family members, they couldn't remember much. But if those family members are still alive today, they're much older and they would have been very young at the time. And if he ran away and never...
I want to find it.
I know, I want to find them. I know some people with the last name Blevins.
I do too, actually.
We should ask them.
And I know somebody with the last name Newell too.
You should ask them.
Mm-hmm.
Carolyn's last name?
Mm-hmm.
So,
This is wild.
yeah, after he was acquitted, he ran off, and there's literally like 2 articles on this case.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Not a lot.
Which isn't. It's shocking that, like, no matter how much you dig, you can't find anything.
Mhm.
Typically, for cases sold, like, there's still other stuff you can find. You just have to really look for it. Not this one.
Mm-mm.
Um,
But I believe this is probably our oldest case.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So earlier when I was like listening and researching just like last little things to just like fact check, Billy and Taylor were in the office and they were asking me, do we think that the popularity of Lula Lake is because of this crime? Because this crime was in the 60s. It turned into the nature reserve that was then private
Mm-hmm.
in 1994. Do we think it was the popularity from these murders? Because it got national attention. I mean, it was
Yeah.
in the New York Times, and that's a big deal in
Mhm.
1963.
I did read that the location of where the murders were, that there have been ghostly sightings, and it's very beautiful and tranquil. That was before people had to schedule,
Mm-hmm.
before it was like completely privatized. It was probably somewhere between the 60s and the 90s.
I wonder if
I
you're
bet it
allowed to
was
camp there.
super popular then.
I wonder if you're allowed to camp there.
Now or then?
No.
I doubt it now.
Boring.
Yeah.
Well,
But a Pulitzer Prize winning writer.
yes, this part, y'all.
His name is Cormac McCarthy. Allegedly, he wrote this book called Child of God, which has very close parallels to this historic North Georgia murder. I want to read that book. I've got to listen to it.
I've looked into it.
Did you read like the synopsis of Child of God?
Yeah, so I think it's about it.
Really?
Yeah, I do. But not everything matches up, but of course that's bound to happen with fiction, you know? So
If I ever wrote a fiction novel, which I've told you I want to,
Mhm.
it would loosely be based off of experience
Yeah.
or something I've seen or heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's too many, there are too many, I don't want to say minor or small, but too many personalized details that match this. Like one could say like, oh, there's been all kinds of, I mean, you look up Lula Lake murders, you find Clear Lake murders, Lava Lake murders,
Yep.
like just all kinds of blank
Murders that
lake murders. So one could argue that like this isn't a completely uncommon thing, but there are small, not small, but you know, like personalized details that match this case
Yeah.
that wouldn't necessarily match every other case.
Okay.
So
I've got to read this.
yeah. And I'd say definitely read it because like you don't win a prize like that
Oh, no.
off a shit book.
I know. My problem is just reading it. I hope they have an audio version of it.
Yeah,
cannot
your
read.
letters will be backwards.
Yeah, it's bad. It's dyslexic is not a fun thing to have. But I love hearing books, you know.
You know, you are the one of 3 people that I know extremely well and I'm very close to that have dyslexia. And all of you are very, like, intelligent but, like, intuitive. Like, really, it's weird. Yeah, because you all have different personalities and stuff, but, like, that's just one. There's, like, very intuitive but very smart. It's interesting.
Yeah, I think we all have special talents, you know, like.
I think because you have to hone in on them, right? Doesn't shock me.
Very interesting. Well, good episode. I mean, short, sweet. We got some comments about our audio, so we're really trying. We're really trying. This is
we spend
$0 a month looks like.
Y'all,
$0 budget.
We spend hours.
Yeah, it's not
testing things. Testing mic setups different. We have at least 30 microphones.
If you're an audio engineer and you live in the state of Tennessee
or Georgia
or near Chattanooga, hit us up. We may need to hire you because
we've tried freaking everything.
I know. So thank you for sticking with us. Like, you know, that just means a lot to us.
I will say one of the questions that I thought of, like, went through all the troubleshooting we've been doing, like, not even just this week, but, like, for, like, weeks. I would like to know if the audio is a problem for you. Is it that we sound far away? Is it that the background noise overshadows? So, like, even if you turn us up, like, the background noise is, like, too loud then? Is it one of us is louder than the other? Like, what exactly? I feel like that would help us a lot.
Yeah.
Because also we, like, test stuff and it sounds great, and then after editing and uploading and pushing it through, it sounds completely different.
And then I'll try and edit the audio that we have, and I think it sounds good, but somewhere we're missing something.
We're missing a key point.
Yeah.
From editing and uploading to what the listener gets. Because for all of our steps, it sounds fine.
Yeah. We've troubleshot. I mean, but thank
so
you
much.
for keeping up with us.
Yes.
And we're trying to, like, just refine our storytelling.
Yeah.
Because not everyone has hours to listen. So just, you know, we're trying. We hear your comments and we appreciate them. We really do.
Yeah, feel free to remember, we like constructive criticism, but if you're gonna be an asshole, be a funny one. And don't do meth.
Don't do meth. That's our tagline officially. This has been the Expired Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Thanks again for listening to the Expired Podcast. What case should we do next? Follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Thanks for listening to the Expired Podcast.